So for those of you who've been keeping up with E3, you will have seen that the latest installment of Assassin's Creed is set in ancient Greece and is called Odyssey, a term that is often used to describe a long and eventful journey. If you are somewhat familiar with Greek mythology, then you also know that it's a piece of work by the Greek poet Homer, which describes the tales and many voyages of the Greek hero Odysseus after the sack of Troy. Now this is quite interesting because we are told that Assassin's Creed Odyssey will take place during the Peloponnesian War, a war where Athens and Sparta battled for control of Greece, a battle of chaos and democracy. In this video I'll be recapping what was mentioned by Ubisoft and making some predictions on what we might see in the game. So in game you have a choice of two characters, either the male protagonist Alexios, or the female Cassandra. Whichever one of these two that you choose, it still seems that you play the grandchild of the Spartan king Leonidas, with his broken spear being your primary weapon. Now after seeing what was done with Assassin's Creed Origins and their integration of the Egyptian pantheon, I was eagerly awaiting to see if they would delve into Greek mythology with Odyssey, and boy did they not hold back on their references. The gameplay and cinematics that we were shown were absolutely littered with statues of heroes and gods ranging from Zeus and Poseidon to Artemis and Athena. The character you play is even said to bear the eagle of Zeus, so I do think that we will be seeing the Greek gods in some shape or form, which means for those of you who have been craving more Greek mythology since God of War, Odyssey may be the game for you. Now just based on what we were shown at E3, it's very difficult to gauge how the Greek gods will feature. My guess is that if we do see the Greek gods, it'll be quite similar to the Trojan War, where there were gods on either side influencing the outcome. Athena being the patron deity of Athens will of course side with the Athenians, perhaps even being your fiercest opposition. Now I'm sure quite a few people would expect the patron god of Sparta and the natural rival of Athena to be Ares, but the god that the Spartans worshipped as their patron was not actually a god, but rather the goddess Artemis, which is why I believe in the trailer we do see a fair amount of animals being hunted. Artemis of course was the goddess most renowned for the hunt. Along with a giant statue of Artemis, we are shown one more thing that may hint to some further interaction with the goddess. In one of the trailers that were being shown, we do see some kind of stag, or deer perhaps, being hunted. We don't really get to see this animal in too much detail because of the sun in the back, but there is a chance that this animal is the Cyrenaean hind. For those of you who are somewhat unfamiliar, the Cyrenaean hind was a huge and agile deer, sacred to the goddess Artemis, and its capture was one of the 12 labours of Heracles. So I think there is a chance as some kind of quest, or even a task to prove yourself to Artemis, that you'll be attempting to capture this beast. During the Peloponnesian War itself, both Athens and Sparta made an appeal to the Persians for help, but none was given. The Spartans then chose to attack Persian-occupied states, and eventually invaded Africa in the year 431 BC, which is when the game is set. So judging by what we've briefly seen, there will most likely be some kind of Persian and African influences in the game. I'm not entirely sure if we're going to see any of the heroes or demigods, as Heracles is mentioned, and we do see a statue of Perseus, but I would personally prefer to see some of the lesser mentioned heroes, such as Bellerophon or even Jason. I know like myself a lot of people would have been waiting to see the iconic creatures and monsters, and they did make us wait right until the end, when we see the back of a creature that looks an awfully lot like a Minotaur. Seeing the Minotaur is definitely a good sign that there will be more monsters and creatures. I'd be very surprised if they just included the Minotaur, with so many great options available. In fact, I do believe we get a snapshot of what appears to be Medusa, which I expect is quite different to what most people imagined. We're told much like Homer's Odyssey, a portion of this game will be spent at sea, so I expect to either come across Plato's lost city of Atlantis, or maybe Scylla and many of the other sea monsters and deities. So now you've heard some of my theories of what we could possibly see in the game, I guess it's time for my overall opinion on what we were shown. I did see a lot of people complaining about how Odyssey looks like a reskinned version of Assassin's Creed Origins, and for the most part I can see where some of these people are coming from. If we're being honest, most people are going to play this game because of the setting, because of the allure of Greek mythology, and the possibility of fighting against the Greek pantheon. One thing however that did stick out to me was the accents that we see in the game. There are some fairly okay Greek accents that we were shown, but there are also some really bad Middle Eastern accents that are meant to be Greek I guess. And then we have some British accents thrown in there for good measure, so I'm not sure what they're going with, but it does kind of break the immersion of the whole game. Overall I'm definitely excited to see more of the game, which creatures and which gods they integrate into it, and how they approach Greek mythology as a whole. If you did manage to catch the Assassin's Creed Odyssey reveal, then let me know how you felt about it. Was there anything in particular that excited you, or was there something that you just didn't like? Let me know in the comments below.